I can't stop thinking about this thing that Donald Trump said about Jeffrey Epstein the other day. He said, quote, "He took people. I say, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. Beyond that, he took some others. Once he did that, that was the end of him." This was in reference to Donald Trump kicking Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club. The timeline we've been presented by both the White House and Trump himself has been entirely inconsistent. We know that Virginia Giuffre, who was one of Epstein's victims, worked at Donald Trump's spa. She was like 16 years old, and that Epstein pinched her, basically, as Trump says, to come work for him. That was in 2000-ish. In 2002, we know that Donald Trump was interviewed by The New Yorker, where he called Jeffrey Epstein, quote, "a terrific guy," and said, "It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." So clearly, when Epstein pinched Trump's employees from the spa at Mar-a-Lago, that wasn't the end of their relationship. So then the official line from the Trump regime changed, and it was like, oh no, they didn't have a falling out in 2000, it was like 2004. Now, just to clarify here, the Trump regime official talking points were that Donald Trump had broken off his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein 2000, 2002, 2004. We don't really know when. The times keep shifting, specifically because Epstein was a creep. That word creep was used repeatedly. But then, as I said at the beginning of this video, Trump himself admitted the reason he felt that he and Epstein had a falling out was because Epstein was taking women, young women, from his spa. He was pinching Trump's employees and taking them to go work for Epstein. When a journalist asked him if the employees that Epstein was pinching were young women, Trump said the answer is yes, and then added they were hired out of his spa. Again, we know that 16-year-old victim Virginia Giuffre worked for Donald Trump at the Mar-a-Lago spa. We know that she was victimized by Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein Associates, when she was a teenager. And yet, we see in 2002, Donald Trump saying glowing things about Epstein in The New Yorker, and then also saying that Epstein likes women on the younger side. So that doesn't appear to be Donald Trump being upset that Epstein is a quote-unquote creep. And in fact, in 2004, we know that Trump and Epstein had a falling out over like a bidding war for an oceanfront mansion. According to PBS News, Trump eventually outbid Epstein for that 62,000 square foot mansion that sold for $41.35 million. But Trump's a populist, you guys. We're supposed to believe he cares about the working class. At the time, the bidding war was described as, quote, two very large Palm Beach egos going at it. We know that after this big tiff, this bidding war, that Epstein and Trump didn't have that much to do with each other. At least that's what the New York Times tells us. So it doesn't really sound like the thing that Trump was upset about was Epstein being a creep. And actually, we know that both Trump and his minions claims that he had kicked Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club 2000, 2004, we're not sure when. That's actually not true. The South Florida Sun-Sentinel reported that in 2006, after Jeffrey Epstein had been accused of SAing an underage girl, I hate that term, underage girl, a child, it's a child. But he was still on Mar-a-Lago's books. In fact, he was kept on Mar-a-Lago's books as a member for 15 more months until October 2007. Factiva recorded 175 news stories on Jeffrey Epstein's crimes during that 15-month period, and yet Trump kept him on the books at Mar-a-Lago. At the time, in 2006-2007, both the New York Post and Fox News, which we know that Trump was a voracious consumer of both media outlets at the time, had reported extensively on this, saying that girls as young as 14 had been targeted by Epstein. And yet, Trump still had him on the books at Mar-a-Lago. And so here's the thing I can't stop thinking about this story. Right? We know there's going to be lies and inconsistencies. We know that we're not going to get the truth from the Trump regime. We'll get little bits and pieces when they slip up, right? So what I don't understand is how Trump could be mad at Epstein pinching girls, stealing his employees who were young women in his spa as young as 16, and not know what Epstein was stealing them for, after admitting in The New Yorker that he knew that Epstein likes them young. Like, what did you think, Donald Trump, that Jeffrey Epstein was stealing your teenage employees for? And yet you continued to maintain a relationship with him. You continued to have him be a member of your club. You talked him up in the press for years after. So I want to know, Donnie, what did you think that Epstein was stealing those girls for? You knew he was pinching your employees who were teenagers, who were children, and you were upset about the fact that he was stealing your employee. He was, like encroaching on your turf. He was taking something you thought belonged to you. And clearly y'all had beef over that in multiple issues where it was two big egos clashing and you needed to show that you were more powerful. Like the bidding on that mansion, you needed to come out on top. You didn't want Epstein to be seen as bigger and more powerful and capable of taking your employees away. That's what you were upset about, not the fact that they were teenage girls that were being taken and trafficked and assaulted. So, like, if you knew he was taking your teenage employees, how did you not know what he was taking them for?